So, who exactly is the Defender of Kunlun? What's up with his Swordmaster skin and where's the sword that he has in it? And why isn't this Iron Fist Danny Rand? Let's talk about it. My name is Riddler, wrong universe, I know, and this is the Marvel Rivals character profile for the Immortal Iron Fist, Lin Lie. Born in Shanghai, Lin Lie was the younger brother to a boy named Feng, both of whom are descendants of the goddess Nuwa. Their archaeologist father left Lin Lie with a mysterious sword, the purpose of which Lin Lie wouldn't know for years. Years later, the sword saves his life when a demon disguised as a mailman tries to attack Lin after he completes a magic puzzle box, referenced in his puzzle box emote. Shortly after, Baron Mordo also assails the young boy, but is driven away by Dr. Stephen Strange. The Sorcerer Supreme offers to take the sword off his hands so that people stop attacking him every other day. Lin, however, refuses, stating that the sword is his family's duty and the only clue he has to ever see his father or brother again. Instead, Lin Lie begins his martial training under a man named Ji Shuang. After his training, Lin Lie takes the moniker Swordmaster, which is where the name of the skin comes from, and joins the Agents of Atlas, the members of whom include Silk, Shang-Chi, and Luna Snow, among others. Most notably, the Agents of Atlas fight back during the invasion of symbiotes and the King in Black arc in the comics. We hear both Lin Lie and Luna Snow mention this when we play on the map Clintar. Lin Lie uses the Sword of Fuxi to help defeat and reseal the King in Black Null. After the death of Dr. Stephen Strange, don't worry, he got better, the Agents of Atlas are dispatched to try and help deal with the multiple waves of demonic incursion the absence of the Sorcerer Supreme allows. However, while on his way to Seoul to deal with a demonic Kumiho, a race of shapeshifters, the creature gets the jump on Lin Lie and bites the sword of Fuxi into pieces, sending Lin plummeting from the airplane he was riding in into the ocean. Despite the efforts of his teammates, they couldn't find Lin Lie, who was critically injured and teetering toward death near the shores of Kunlun. Kunlun is not a nation that is easily accessible. It exists within a pocket dimension that is only open to those who either know where and how to find a portal, or those who are brought to Kunlun by their fate or destiny. And as fate would have it, Lin drifted to the shores of Kunlun just as the egg of the immortal dragon Shu Lao hatched free. Generally, to become the defender of Kunlun, you must slay the dragon and steal its heart to become the immortal Iron Fist. However, for only the second time in known history, the chi of Shu Lao was given freely, saving Lin Lie's life and making him the immortal Iron Fist. While this is the beginnings, this isn't all we know about Lin Lie. The sword of Fuxi that was bitten into pieces, Lin Lie held so tightly and dearly to his person and his soul that its fragments were actually embedded in his hands and arms. This is why, after using his dragon's defense, the block ability, you can see what looks like a blade of chi protruding from his wrist. That is because the sword of Fuxi has not left Lin Lie, it is now even more so a part of him. In the comic books, this actually proposed a bit of a problem for quite some time. While Shu Lao and Fuxi were both deities, let's say, extraplanar creatures with very powerful, very potent chi, they were already trying to mix their chi with Lin Lie's own chi. So having a third chi present, presented a pretty unique problem for Lin Lie, one that other Iron Fists have not faced exactly. It took him quite some time and quite a few teachers to learn how to do this. At first, Lin Lie was convinced that he did not need the guidance of Danny Rand or really anyone else outside of his own teachers. To him, he had completed his training. He had fought against Null, one of the most powerful beings in existence. He was the Sword Master. But eventually, Lin Lie comes around and allows Danny to teach him some of the detailed points of being a champion of Shu Lao and the defender of Kunlun. His other teachers also include Daredevil, who taught him how to fight through the pain that he was experiencing in his hands at the time. Having the embedded shards of the Sword of Fuxi stuck in his hands brought Lin Lie great pain, and that pain was breaking his concentration, making it very hard to manipulate his chi and, in general, to be a superhero. So after training with Daredevil and learning a couple of his tricks on how to be a better disabled superhero, he manages to really come into his own, but he is still missing something. Every Iron Fist who slays Shulao is graced with the mark of Shulao, a tattoo-like imprint on the skin that immediately signifies them as the immortal Iron Fist. Danny Rand had this, and the other 60 some odd defenders of Kunlun also had this, and it appeared nowhere on Lin Lie. And he couldn't exactly ask, Shou Lao where it was, because that'd be a harder conversation to have than most. That is when the story of Judgment Day comes into play. I will not be going into Judgment Day all in depth here. It is a very, very large crossover story that involves the X-Men, the Avengers, the Eternals. It is a universe-wide event that happened. And basically, there is a creature who is going through and is individually judging every member of the Marvel Universe to see, are they worthy. These trials that are presented to them are very specific. There's even an implication that the trials are pulled directly from the memories of their deepest insecurities. And due to a bit of, timey-wimey nonsense, and on top of that, just him being a trickster god, Lin Lie is actually alongside a Loki during this Judgment Day moment when it happens. His trial includes actually trying to physically fight Shou Lao, but Lin Lie struggles with this. He has always seen Shou Lao as the being that saved his life. He holds no ill will. He does not want to fight or harm Shou Lao, but everyone keeps telling him to be the immortal Iron Fist that he needs to. Lin Lie, however, is stubborn to a fault and simply takes a beating from the dragon and refuses to harm it. He sees Shou Lao, or even this projection of Shou Lao, as his friend, and he refuses to budge from that moral standpoint. And this does deem him worthy according to the creature projecting the test in the first place. And ironically enough, to show that these tests are not immaterial or all the way illusions, finally, the mark of Shou Lao manifests on Lin Lie's arm. So that's the story of how Lin Lie became the immortal Iron Fist. But what is he up to in Marvel Rivals specifically? That is actually much less clear of a topic. There are 4 main problems that are assailing the worlds of Marvel Rivals as we have seen. There are the Dooms and the Time Stream Entanglement, the Vampire Attacks, the Web of Life and Destiny, and whatever Hydra is doing. You can also throw Null in on top of there, so I guess there are 5. Iron Fist lore section talks about none of these things. It instead shows Lin Lie meditating on how even Kunlun in its pocket dimension was not spared from the time stream entanglement. Like a lot of other dimensions, it fused together with the other heavenly cities to form the Heart of Heaven, a shrine and a shell for the Tree of Immortality. He stops a thief who steals the fruit from a tree and reveals that he stole said fruit to feed a small, pale-skinned, blue-eyed child. The thief is a man called the Prince of Orphans, who is a character that does exist in the Iron Fist mythos. He explains to Lin Lie exactly what is going on with the time stream entanglement, and that is how he is brought up to speed on everything that's going on. Eventually, Lin Lie determines that the man should be protected and tells the defender of the Heart of Heaven exactly that. The man accepts this explanation and gives an ominous warning before peacing out. And that's it? That's kind of all that happens. Lin Lie goes to train with the Prince of Orphans, which is good, and he'll certainly become stronger for it, but he kind of doesn't have anything to do with anything. There's no mention of Null. There's no mention of whatever evil eldritch entity that Hydra is trying to unleash. I mean, there's mention of it, like in the sense that there is a literal mention, but nothing material. He's not involved in the context of his story. He is totally separate from all of these things, which, to be fair, is kind of in line with how Kunlun and by proxy the Immortal Iron Fist tend to work. They tend to be pretty separate, But I mean, so does Punisher. Punisher usually isn't in the middle of things like this. So it's very interesting that they have set Lin Lie very much so apart from everything that is going on thus far. With that being said, I do think that is because we are going to expand on Iron Fist in the future. I think he has been set in a separate place, talking to separate people with a separate, very specific description of where he is, because we simply haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. The story of season 0 was the story of Doom and the time stream entanglement. You know, the null things, the Hydra things, the web of life and destiny, all of those things are already in the game. And the things that weren't in the game that we referenced were then quickly added to the game. Like Moon Knight and Squirrel Girl, they have stories about the vampire attacks, even in season 0 when we didn't even know about the vampire attacks yet. So I feel like Lin Lie has gotta follow a similar thread, right? He has to be just sort of waiting in the wings. Perhaps season 2, after we get Blade, maybe we'll go to the heart of heaven and we'll, tie Iron Fist into the story, and Shu Lao will have more of a central place to take in the events of what follows. It all remains to be seen, but that is all that I have for you. Thank you so much for enjoying and joining me. If you like the video, leave a comment down below and tell me if you have an idea. Maybe I've missed something, but Iron Fist seems pretty separate from everything, and I think it's because he's going to be doing things in the future. But until the next time I see you lovely people, drink some water, wash your hands, tell someone you love that you love them, and be good people.